Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show on Pub Sports Radio, Wednesday, January 11th. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack ready to break it down. Let's just get right into it because it's a ton of games. We'll rip through them all. Marquee games, as always, to start. We'll begin with Mississippi State taking on Georgia in the SEC. Mississippi State 2.5-point road favorites, 128.5 being the total in this game. Should see a pretty defensive-minded battle when you think about it with these two teams. I think Mississippi State is probably the better side here, but can't underestimate what Georgia's done lately. And look, it's been a long time coming for me to try to warm up to this team. I'm not a big fan of their coach. I'm not a big fan of what he had done in the past with Florida, but you got to give Georgia some credit. They played some good basketball, better at least of late. They had the big home win against Auburn. The last time they had a SEC home game, they covered in defeat at Florida, 82-75 in their last game. Offensively, they're actually starting to shoot the ball a little bit better going into this one. Mississippi State, on the flip side, they beat Ole Miss 64-54 in their last game at home. On the road, which is where they are here, they had that big win against Minnesota, but also got ambushed by Tennessee away from home. Mississippi State has dominated Georgia for the most part here in the basketball battle here. 5-1 against the spread the last 6 meetings, as well as 5-1 straight up. I'm off this game. I mean, I really don't have a strong feel for it. I want to take Mississippi State. I think they're a little bit better team, but I do respect the way Georgia's played. They're undefeated at home. They are a home underdog here. So I'm off the game. I would only lean Mississippi State. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't want much to do with this. I wanted to we lost him. Maybe Jose can do it. We got a couple new members. I wanted to shout them out, and I don't see their name anymore. But shout out to the guys that joined. Here we go, Jason. Oh, yeah, there you go. Thanks,
Jason
Jose.
and Rob. Welcome.
Booyah. Hell yeah. I think the total is low. Obviously, Mississippi State. I mean, I went, 10 games, 9-1 to the under. I've laid off. Georgia, though, on the flip side, has played a little bit to the over, scoring a little bit more. But they still have a solid defense. And we know Mississippi State is ranked 5th. So I lean under. I don't want to get involved either. You mentioned I lean Mississippi State. I think Georgia's played a little bit better of late. I don't want it here. So I'm off.
All right, Boston College and Miami. We go to the ACC next up. Miami, 11-point home favorites. The total in this one, 139. I like BC a little bit here, actually. I think we're getting to the point now with Miami. It was a team that I cashed a few tickets with them. It's a very good team. I think with the way they've played this year, it's been pretty impressive. But I think as time goes on here, as we get into conference play, we're going to find that Miami might be a titch overvalued now. 4-5 against the spread. They lost outright as road favorites of 6 at Georgia Tech. And keep in mind, at home, they beat Virginia, but only by 2, NC State, but only by 7. Not the kind of team I typically say, yeah, we're going to win by margin. Now, BC does have some, I guess, proving ground to show on the road because at Duke, at Nebraska, at Syracuse, they got pummeled in all 3 games. At home, they've been pretty good. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, they won both of those games outright as underdogs. They nearly beat Duke over the weekend, 8-point dogs, lose by a point. The only question here is, can they take their act on the road and play better away from home? I think they can here. I mean, Miami's having a hard time winning games by margin. I'll take a shot here, BC, plus the points. One other thing I like about BC is the defensive game has really been solid lately. And as long as they bring that, and defense sometimes travels, they can keep within, I think, 9 points or less of this Miami team. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, I think Miami, when they're laying this number, has not been good at home. The numbers, when I was rolling through it today, not great. And when these teams get together, the Dogs been good. 9-2-1 last 12. I haven't bet it, but I lean BC. The only problem is, I know you're getting double digits, is them on the road. It just bothers me. I know they're healthy and playing a little bit better basketball, but I'd only be on the points with them.
Sorry, there we go. Next up, all right, we've got Pitt and Duke. Duke, 8.5, 9-point home favorites, 142 the total. Come on, I'm on Pitt. You got to know that by now. I've been riding this team every single, except the North Carolina game, and I'm still shaking my head how I didn't bet them, why I didn't bet them. in that game. They beat Virginia after that. And I actually like that we get Pitt off a loss for a change. They finally lost a game, finally didn't cover a game against Clemson 75-74 in their last game. But now you get them off that loss at Duke. Again, they got to show they can go on the road and get it done. But, I have no problem fading Duke right now. 1-4 against the spread their last 5. The offense has just gone stone cold here the last 2 games. They only score 60 and 65 the last 2 games against NC State and Boston College. They're going to have to hope that getting back home fixes it. And they did put up 86 against Florida State, but I'll tell you right now, Pitt's a lot better than Florida State. I've been impressed. And Jeff Capel going back to Duke, place he was the assistant under Coach K for a few years. That's something to keep in mind going into this game. And if you actually look at the series history with these 2 teams, there was an ugly loss last year at Pitt for them by 30. But really outside of that, the 2 other meetings the last couple of years, Duke won by 12, Pitt won by 6 at home a couple of years ago against Duke. But the difference is Duke, I think, was a little bit better in those years. Pitt was definitely worse. And now we're seeing the gap kind of close a little bit here. So for me, I like Pitt plus 8.5, plus 9, hang around in this game. What do you think here, Conor? Pitt Duke?
Yeah, we talked about Pitt just laying points. It finally got them, and it just wore out of gas. And shout out to Clemson, winning a couple games here on the road lately. That's big for them. No Roach, no go for me. I mean, that's just the bottom line. They struggle too much. This seems, though, all right spot for them for Duke, but I don't love it. And I've been on Pitt a lot this year as well. A lot of money all over Pitt. This line's moved the other way, a point and a half. This could be a rough one. They played all right in the road. There's not a ton of games here. They did win at Syracuse. Both these teams, though, one thing with Pitt, been an over team. 6 of the last 7. Duke did go under Boston College, half a point NC State, but before that, they ripped off 8 straight overs. I'd lean over in this basketball game as well. Duke struggles to shoot it, but I think it could get over. Hell yeah. Shout out our guy.
Archie Bunker. All right. I remember
yeah.
that show, All in the Family. One of the best sitcoms ever made. That show is phenomenal, hilarious. All in the Family. But good stuff. Appreciate the $10 dono very much. All right, next up, we've got, let me just see here, Virginia Tech and Syracuse. So we stay in the ACC. Virginia Tech, 3-point road favorites. We've got 140 in this one. I'm buying low on Tech here. I don't like much of this Syracuse team, I'll be honest. I don't think they're that great. I know Virginia Tech has struggled on the road, but you look at the road games, Wake, BC is improving. All their road losses were, I think, better teams than Syracuse. Syracuse, they beat Boston College at home. They beat Louisville by 1 on the road, but, it's still a team that I've not liked their consistency one game to the next. If you look at their stats so far on the season, they're not the greatest from 3-point range defensively, and Virginia Tech can make threes. That's a concern for the Syracuse team going into this game tonight. You look at also Virginia Tech, very solid offensive rebounding team. Syracuse not able on the defensive rebounding to have a very good go of it so far this season. And honestly, Virginia Tech's schedule has been pretty tough. I mean, BC's improved when they played them. They played Wake. They played Clemson's been capable. NC State. When you look at Syracuse, just a team that I don't trust right now. And I think you're buying low on Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech's had some ups and downs. I think coming into this ACC campaign, still viewed them as a little bit of a better team. And quite honestly, for a great career that Jim Boeheim's had, Virginia Tech, I think definitely a little coaching edge here with Mike Young as well. So I like Virginia Tech. Again, it's gone up a little. I'd take the money line, which is what I did when I first bet it. When it was down around 2, I took the money line and it was minus 130. Money line's up to minus 145 now. But I still like that. Hokies on the money line here. What do you think, Conor?
I don't want the Hokies. This seems, though, like a good one they could get. They went into a struggle to shoot it in that first half on Saturday. That was ugly, and it killed the over by a point. They've just struggled. Maybe they can light it up against the zone with Syracuse. That's what you're looking at. I'd rather just watch than be in this one, and look out for the guard. What's Hunter? What's his name? Couture, I think that's his name. He's been out. They've struggled. I know they played a tough schedule. He's got to be back in and I'd rather wait till they get back home, even though I think this game is gettable.
All right, we go along now to next game on the slate, Indiana and Penn State. We've got Penn State 2-point home favorites, 142 the total in this game. Interesting matchup here. Indiana, of course, got season playing excellent, but they've definitely come back down to earth. 2 straight losses for them at Iowa and then at home against Northwestern. Banged up basketball team, too, as well, when you look at it. Xavier Johnson's out. Race Thompson out indefinitely with that knee issue. And they haven't looked the same since these injuries accumulated for this Hoosiers team. Brutal against the number as well. 0-6 against the spread coming into this game. Purdue at home off a loss to Purdue, 76-63. They had a road loss at Michigan before that. Kind of feels like a Penn State spot, and I'm going to buy into it being a Penn State spot here a little bit. I mean, I don't like the way Indiana's kind of going at the moment. They've been burning money left and right. You look at the series history, the home team has dominated, basically. Penn State's been at home, they've won and covered. Indiana's been at home, they've won. And while there's one game in Indiana where Penn State covered, but for the most part, the home team has been the straight-up winner in this recent series. So Penn State's favored for a reason here. I mean, Indiana looks out of sorts right now. I'm going to take the Nittany Lions here, minus 130 money line. What do you think here, Connor?
Indiana struggling defensively, and its team scored as well. And on the flip side, Penn State can score. So unless we get into a Big Ten kind of slow game here, that always kills me if I'm on this over. I think this gets over the total. That's the only thing that's kind of keeping me off here. Penn State, they stroke it, they win. They don't hit their threes, they probably lose. And a pretty good free throw shooting team. They need a win as well. Tough one. I'd like to take Penn State. Both teams need a win. Tough. But like I said, lean over a little bit.
All right, there you go. Leaning over, and I'm leaning Penn State here in this one. All right, I didn't lean Penn State. I did bet Penn State. Alabama and Arkansas. We've got a good matchup here. Arkansas 1-point home favorites, 153 the total in this game. See, I bet over 140. No, I didn't get the opener. I got 150. 1.5 with the total over the total here. It's now like 153 in a lot of spots, and actually got as high as 154.5. So, they're definitely going to get pace. But the one thing we have seen from these two teams is their ability that they can defend. All right, and we have seen certainly more so lately from Arkansas and their standpoint. They've gone into cold spells shooting the basketball. I mean, if you look at 2 of their last 3 losses, they didn't break 60 points. Against LSU or Auburn, and they've been trending under heavily. There's no question about that. The only win being against Missouri, 74-60. Alabama's playing really well. 4 straight wins for them, 8-1 straight up in their last 9 games. The only loss to Gonzaga during that span. They pummeled Ole Miss. They pummeled Kentucky in back-to-back home games. A nice road win at Mississippi State as well for this Alabama team. I know it's a pick 'em here, but I like what I'm seeing out of Alabama too much to go against them. I lean Crimson Tide. I did bet over, but again, keep in mind the numbers moved, so I don't like it as much. I'd honestly lean Bama here right now. I think Arkansas has got some issues right now in terms of shooting the basketball. I think their rotations are out of whack a little bit. Keep in mind, they've really missed a couple of key pieces. Trayvon Brazile and Nick Smith have been key absences for Arkansas. And it looks like until they get these guys back, they're going to have problems. So I'm actually leaning Alabama quite a bit here in this one. What do you think, Connor?
That's my lean, too. This seems, though, if Arkansas wants to get right after a couple losses on the road, would be tonight. But I don't think I'm going to get involved. I think those 2 guys being out is too big for Arkansas. And I think Alabama's just a little bit more talented. Played some good games on the road. Both these teams, though, what was it at Bama? What's it like 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 gone to the under? And so Arkansas games you mentioned, I think it's 5 straight to the under. We could get back and forth, but Matty Ice in the chat, I lean under a little bit. Could be just a tad bit high, I think, the total.
Yeah, it's definitely climbed too much, a little too much for my liking, honestly, now with where it is. All right, next up, we've got Creighton and Xavier in the Big East. Xavier 2.5-point home favorites, 152 the total. I ain't stepping in front of Xavier. I'm not. But at some point it also feels like, you're not going to keep on rolling forever and ever and ever. You're going to have a time and an instance where you don't play your best and you will slip up. But I'm not going to guess when that's going to be, because all I see right now is a team that's playing great ball, 9 straight wins. They're lighting it up offensively. Man, do I like what I see from the Xavier Musketeers in terms of offensive basketball. It's very fun to watch, and you got to give Sean Miller credit. This is a guy that was raked through the coals a little bit with what went down at Arizona. He had to pick himself up off the mat, go back to Xavier, and show that he could still get the job done. Look, he's done a great job this year with this group. It's been very impressive. Zach Fremantle's just been an absolute terror for them all season long. Double-double machine, rebounds, scores a bunch of points. They've got Bohm, they've got Kunkel, they've got Jones. They've got a great supporting cast around him. It's been very impressive. And, defensively is still room for improvement for Xavier, because they are far from a great defensive team, but they are just lighting things up at the offensive end of the basketball court. And the fact that they're just destroying things from the perimeter. I mean, 40% shooting from 3-point range, and Creighton's a mediocre 3-point defending team. That's definitely concerning for me going into this game tonight for Creighton. On the flip side, though, Creighton's own defense hasn't been always spectacular, but since they got Kalkbrenner, of course, back from injury, and we've talked about how important he is. I know Nemhard's a great point guard. They've got other good players, but they don't. They definitely rely on him quite a bit. You look at their offense suddenly, 80, 83. They did get shut down by UConn, but they were walking into a very tough environment there at UConn. UConn was off 2 road losses in a row against Xavier and Providence, and Creighton was just going to get UConn's best, and UConn brought their best. UConn played suffocating defense in that game, in my opinion. So I'm not stepping in front of Xavier. Lean Xavier, but I like the total more. I think it goes over. I think we find enough points to see this one get up and over the number. It's 152. I think it can get there between these two teams. And keep in mind, when you look at this Xavier team, 168, 156, 163, pretty damn consistent in terms of their games getting up into the high 150s, if not 160s. So I like over the total in this one more than the side. I lean Xavier, though. What do you think, Conor?
I do too, but they put this total probably right where it's supposed to be, right around here, and it's come down even a little bit. 152, 151. Xavier, like you said, you just at home. They're just shooting it until they have a horrible shooting night. And probably that's going to be on the road. And Creighton's not great defensively, a little worse on the road. And Xavier's got some bad numbers and could give up some points, but man, do they score. So even, this has come down 151. I think it creeps over. And I think Xavier. I think I'm not going to bet this, game, but that's where I'd be.
Yeah, that's a great Big East game. And so is this next one, UConn and Marquette. I mean, you got 2 absolute terrific games on the Big East schedule tonight. This is another one. We've got UConn 2.5-point road favorites. The total currently 147.5, 148. I think we've seen enough vulnerability in UConn on the road the last couple that I'd pump the brakes laying 2.5 with them on the road. Now, they did get the home win, and I liked UConn on Saturday. I said lay the points, and they got it done against Creighton. But now they're back on the road, lost to Providence, lost to Xavier on the road, and Marquette 9-1 at home this year. Their only home loss was against Wisconsin back on December the 3rd. Let's not forget they also beat the hell out of Baylor on this home court. Won and covered against Creighton here at home. And don't look now, but they've actually played pretty good on the road as well. They could have beat Providence on the road. They had a road win at Villanova, 68-66. Very impressive results lately for Marquette. They've gone over the total 4 of the last 5. They're lighting it up too, 98, 83, 96, 95 in 4 of the last 5 games. Villanova, they got held down a bit, but it was, Villanova's going to do that to a lot of teams, play a little bit low scoring, make it a half court, muck it up type of game. This is going to be a tricky game for UConn. I definitely lean home dog here. Marquette Golden Eagles plus 2.5. And this is another one where, from a total standpoint, Marquette at home, and you're dealing with a total of 147.5. And the one thing about UConn is we saw at Xavier got their pace. Xavier wanted to run. Xavier got their pace. Xavier ran. The game went over. I think Marquette might get their pace here. And I think if they dictate pace, it's going to go over. So I would go Marquette plus 2.5 and also over 147.5 here. What do you think, Connor?
Connecticut's owned them the last couple of years, taking care of business. I think this is so far the best Marquette team the last couple of years as well. They just the way they score it has been great. Now it'll be tough. This UConn team, I think, can go in there and shut them down a little bit. Just not an easy. They came home, get the win, and got to go right back on the road here, Marquette. And the thing is, they got to win by 3 here for the cover. So I can't. There's no way I'm going to take them. It'd only be the dog, Marquette here.
All right, Baylor and West Virginia. We've got West Virginia 1.5 point home favorites, 150 the total. I hate to be repetitive, but if I were to bet the total, it would be again over the number or nothing. Baylor's defending is just horrid right now. I mean, it's shocking. It's really shocking to see what's happened for Baylor on the defensive end of the basketball court. Look at what they're giving up right now. 77 to Iowa State, 88 to TCU, 97 to Kansas State in their last game. It's like they've totally abandoned playing a lick of defense, this Baylor Bears team. So I understand why the total's gone up. The one little concern is West Virginia going to take advantage of it? We just saw this team score 60 in a loss at Oklahoma State and 62 in a loss to Kansas. So not exactly lighting it up. They were shooting 20 of 57, 19 of 52. And we know West Virginia for years is not a great jump shooting team. You keep them out of the paint and you make them make shots, it can be difficult. Yet, you actually look at recent series history, 4 straight overs, Baylor versus West Virginia in the last 4 head-to-head meetings. They met twice last year. Both of them went over the total. I understand why people want Baylor overs right now because they can still score with the personnel they have, no question about that. And keep in mind, LJ Cryer has been back now for a game or two. That makes them better offensively, yet his return has not helped them defensively. They're clearly still struggling at that end of the court. So total's gone up, and I agree. I wouldn't bet the side other than I'd only take West Virginia. I'm not taking Baylor right now. If you're not playing defense, I'm not backing you. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, Johnson's got a concussion. He's questionable. The road team's been pretty good, in this series as of late. The Baylor defense, though, man, I don't know what we're going to get. And I thought West Virginia was a little bit fraud. They came out so well. Non-conference, have a good record. I lean their way, but I'm not going to bet this either. This is a watch for me. And lean over. It's moved, though, right?
Yeah.
This is moved 3 or 4 points, 3 points.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, right now, this should be maybe just to get on the road, wake up call for Baylor. I could see Baylor winning it too. Someone in the chat, Mr. Always Profit. Yeah, I could see it.
Morgantown's not easy to do it, but I don't know how great this West Virginia team is. I need to see more.
See, you got the 7-1 home record of West Virginia, 0-2 on the road for Baylor. It makes you think you got to bet West Virginia here, don't you? But at the same time, West Virginia against the better competition, they've struggled. Let's be honest. I mean, a lot of the wins were against weaker foes. And in the Big 12, they're 0-3.
They need a win.
Yeah, they need a win.
That's why.
So, yeah. And that's true. And the fact the money's come in on Baylor, there's people believing that, hey, there's a Baylor spot. We'll see if they can step up and get the job done. All right, Memphis and UCF. We have UCF 1.5 point home favorites, 137.5 the total in this game. Of course, if you'll remember, on the Saturday edition of the college basketball show, which is, of course, the Pub Hub with Conor, myself, and Dabby Cab, I liked East Carolina against Memphis, and they ended up getting the wire-to-wire point spread cover. In fact, East Carolina was leading, and they kind of crumbled in the second half, but they still covered the number in a 10-point loss. Memphis now 0-5 ATS, their last 5 games. Last time we saw them on the road, the only other conference road game at Tulane, 96-89. They couldn't stop the Green Wave. They lost. I ain't trusting Memphis on the road. UCF's got a nice little home court going right now. They're certainly a team that offers up quite a bit of defensive resistance. They're a very good defensive team, and any team that defends could really, really make Memphis, struggle and give Memphis fits. UCF's actually a top 65, top 70 free throw shooting team as well, which is a good sign going into this game. So you got a defensive-minded team at home, a good home team, a team that makes their free throws. They're 8-2, by the way, straight up at home. Memphis 1-3 straight up on the road. I like UCF here. I mean, I've seen enough of Memphis where you trust this team to get their shit together, play good team basketball on the road. I've seen many instances where they have not done that. It wouldn't shock me, if this is another night where they stumble on the road. So I like UCF your money line. Connor, what do you like?
I like UCF too. Why? It just seems this should be a little bit more. This should stretch out to 3. It hasn't. I'm not getting really the Memphis love in this one. Johnson's a key for me. He's got this foot problem. He's got to be a go, even though I don't know how great he will be. Tigers 0-5 the last 5 games against the number. They haven't been good. They've been an over team, while UCF an under. So I'll be off. I lean UCF, though, in this one.
All right, next up, we got Missouri and Texas A&M in the SEC. We've got A&M 4.5 point home favorites, 153.5 the total in this game. Missouri has been very, very impressive for the most part. They've definitely been a bit of not a surprise, but to be this good, 13-2 type of good to begin the season. To Vanderbilt, they got a home win last game. They gave Arkansas fits. They had the win against Kentucky, beat UCF on the road. So beat Illinois. Really the bad game was Kansas. And other than that, it's been impressive. But here's A&M, this great defensive team, and they are. I mean, they're really starting to play well defensively, especially the last 2 games. Do they frustrate this Missouri Tigers team? Missouri's covered 5 straight on the road. It is worth noting. A&M, by the way, it is worth noting as well that it looks like for them, they're going to be without Manny Obaseki, one of their key guards. Looks like hand injury for him will be out indefinitely. That's going to be a bit of an absence that will hurt the Aggies a bit moving forward. They're betting A&M, but I'll tell you what, Mizzou has covered 3 straight in the head-to-head series between these 2 teams, winning 2 of them. The only A&M win was by 3 points. I'm not laying 4.5 now. If you want, I understand maybe people liking A&M closer to pick them. Now we're talking 4.5. Missouri's owned this series. Missouri showed you in Arkansas. They were right in that basketball game start to finish. It's not easy to lay points against Mizzou right now. The only concern is that A&M's defense is really locked in, and if Missouri struggles to score, their defense can be a little shaky at times. And A&M, could they pull away and, by enough of a margin? Yes. That's what the handicap is. Missouri's excellent shooting and offense against this very much improved, strong A&M defense. What's going to win out? Tough game, but I lean Missouri based on their ability to cover numbers. They've been decent as a dog, and they've been good head-to-head against A&M. What do you think here, Connor?
You hit it. What gives? Offense or this defense? A&M, though, can score. So that's why this total, though, to me is just high. Even though I think it could get over, you're not getting a bargain in this game. So that's it for me. I'm just off this completely.
All right, we've got Louisville and Clemson. I'm going to keep this one brief. Clemson 17-point home favorites, 136.5 the total. I don't want to lay 17 with Clemson, and I don't want Louisville at all. So maybe an under. Other than that, I'm staying far, far away from this game. That being said, I'll say this about Louisville. They've covered 3 of their last 4, and they actually might have covered 4 in a row, depending on what number you got with them against Kentucky. Because if you got 23.5 and not 23, you actually covered. So if you got 23.5 at Kentucky with Louisville, they're actually 4-0 ATS their last 4 games. So they're starting to play a little bit better, and it's going to take the markets a long time to catch up to them. But yet Clemson's rolling. Clemson's 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. So I don't want to go against them, and I'm not laying 17 with them. So easy pass. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah. Is Clemson flat here in this? After that big win, maybe early? I wanted over 20, though, to really be on Louisville. So this was just a little short for me. And Clemson's taking care of business, whether it was like Wake by 20, going some of these scores, NC State, I think they won by 14. They've had some big numbers. So that's just in the end keeping me off, even though I kind of lean the points. I mean, Louisville's so bad. They got to get a little bit better. They covered a few numbers here lately. So I just need a few more.
Yeah, I mean, I actually would lean a little Louisville, but not enough to bet it. So, yeah. I'm leaving it alone. Especially Clemson. Look, as much as I've berated Clemson and their coach in particular, they're playing good ball right now, really good, especially the last 5 games. All right, Florida State and Wake Forest. We've got Wake Forest 8.5 point home favorites, 149 being the total in this game. Wake Forest, I'm never totally comfortable laying points like this with Wake. I mean, we know that their best game is capable to beat anybody, but they've had some head-scratching performances, some bad ones at times this year as well. They are 8-0 at home. They've been a good home team. Florida State's not been a good road team, and that's putting it mildly. They got blown out by Nebraska, blown out by Duke. Did cover against Virginia. That's about the only good example of Florida State being competitive on the road. Wake Forest, meanwhile, they're back-to-back home wins against Virginia Tech and Duke. Yeah, this is a game where I didn't feel comfortable laying it with Wake. I think they win. They've been good at home. I just don't know about laying 8.5 with them on this home floor. They've been a little bit more dubious laying bigger points. They were 12.5-point favorites against App State. They barely won. 9-point favorites their last game at Louisville. They won by 8. So you know what I mean? This could come right close to the number. Florida State, still on the road in particular, and against better teams, struggling defensively. St. John's puts 93 on them, 86 for Duke against Florida State. Wake Forest, meanwhile, they're scoring in bunches, 81, 77, 79, and 80 in their last 4 games, and 5 straight overs. Their defense has been somewhat suspect, though, too. Not as bad as Florida State on D, but still a little shaky for Wake Forest on the defensive end. So rather than the side, I like over the number here. 149. Conor, what do you think? FSU and Wake.
Let's touch the total. Star Child. To me, it's just too high. This is spot on. They're getting these numbers just right there. Even though I think there's points, and both these teams have been pretty good at the over, especially Wake. I know Florida State on Saturday, that game just went under. But that's where I look. But, man, 149, 150, it's just not – I can't do it. I think Florida State, but I'm not going to bet. I think if you like Wake, take them first half. I wouldn't go full game with that basketball team, even at home. They've given it up. So look at them first half.
Yeah, I still have that LSU. I'm traumatized still by that LSU game earlier in the season. They had a 20-point lead. They ended up coughing it up way back early in the season. All right, Rutgers and Northwestern in the Big Ten. We've got Rutgers 1-point road favorites, 127 the total. Very low number here in this game. Illinois, when you look at it, Northwestern, not a team that is fluid consistently on the offensive end of the basketball court. I think we have definitely been aware of that. I'm shocked they put up 84 against Indiana over the weekend, and then they beat Illinois as well. So they've actually won 2 in a row, but we'll see if they can carry it over here in this matchup against Rutgers. Rutgers coming off a loss against Iowa, 76-65, snapping what was an impressive 5-game win streak for the Scarlet Knights going into that game. Last year, these teams played here at Northwestern. Rutgers loses in overtime, 79-78. Heartbreaker it was in that one for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I actually think Rutgers is a better team. I think they're going to be able to go on the road and get the win. I think we need to dispel that age-old, theory that Rutgers can't win on the road. They have shown now that their road game is improving. They covered and nearly won at Ohio State. They beat Purdue in their last road game. We are definitely starting to see Rutgers, get going, play a little bit better. That's been important for them. And to really not only defensively, I think they're actually a little bit better offensively this year as well, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And I think you put it together, they're starting to finally get some confidence that, hey, we can go on the road and we can actually win games. To me, this is just pick 'em, when before the season, Rutgers, probably could have been favored by more than this against Northwestern. I think Scarlet Knights are the side here. I like Rutgers to get the win on the road. I think now we can trust this team a little bit more than we have in the past to go on the road and win a game. You beat Purdue on the road. You nearly beat Ohio State on the road. I think you can beat Northwestern on the road if you're doing that. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, the road team's been good the last few in these. They've gotten it done. Yeah, this total's low. Both these defenses, though, that's why. Rutgers 4th, Northwestern points 13th. And at times they can struggle to score, but other times they can shoot it. I don't want this game. I think Rutgers can go in there and win, though, easily, but I'm off.
TCU, Texas. We've got Texas 6.5-point home favorites, 143.5 the total in this game. We've obviously got the TCU Horned Frogs 13-2 actually both teams 13-2, but TCU, it's been a great run for them lately. They had won back-to-back Big 12 games against really good teams, Texas Tech and Baylor. Fall short against Iowa State, 69-67 on Saturday, although I did say I thought Iowa State plus the points was worth a look in that game, and they got the outright win against TCU. So TCU off that loss, and now they look to bounce back here on the road against Texas. Texas team that's off of 56-46, 102 points in the game, staying way under the total, 56-46. They committed to better defense after the debacle against Kansas State, and they certainly commit that way. And look, the new permanent head coach here after Chris Beard was dismissed, they've really been trying to make this team, buy in at the defensive end. And certainly they did a good job of that in the first game. But suddenly it's like they sacrificed offense for defense in that game because scoring had never been an issue for Texas. They only got to 56 there against Oklahoma State. Should be a good matchup. You look at last year, these teams met 3 times. Texas won handily the first 2, but then TCU won in the Big 12 tournament, 65-60. I lean with the points here as well. I mean, you've got TCU off a loss. I think they play, and it's not like TCU has been an easy team to blow out. You look at their games, they have not been the kind of team where, we can easily win by margin against them. And like I said, I like the way Miles has played. Lampkin's been good for TCU. I think their defensive game's improved. We always knew they could score. I think their defensive game has improved a little bit here, the last 2 of the last 3 games in particular. So I think it's a close game. I'll take the 6.5 here with the Horned Frogs. And a little pick-me-up, too, for the school after just their football team got totally trashed and embarrassed on Monday night by Georgia. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah. Hopefully there's not a blowout here. I don't know what's going on, in this Texas program. The cutting Beard, I think that in the end was good, but I like TCU here in the points in this game. These teams, though, have just been really good offensively. They're still decent defensively. I thought the total was a little high, but, it's come down. I see some big bets on the over. I'm not so sure, even though I think this could get into just the 60s kind of game and stay under this pretty easy. So a lean on the total, but I'm going to take the points with the Horned Frogs.
I agree with that. All right, next up here, we've got California and Washington State. We're going to wrap up here with 2 late West Coast games. Washington State, 13-point home favorites, 126 the total in this one. It's funny that, again, this is the only Pac-12 game, and they stick Cal and Washington State out there as the one and only Pac-12 game. But actually, you know what? We shouldn't even rag on Cal anymore. They've had 2 very nice wins in a row. Now, both of those were at home against Colorado and Stanford, but holy shit, where did this offense come from in these 2 games from this team? I mean, they couldn't shoot straight. They couldn't put a basketball in the ocean for the longest time this season. And here they are in 2 games. They get 80 and 92 in victories over Colorado and Stanford. And obviously those games are going to fly over the total. I'm going to see if I can ride this a little bit. Cal Golden Bears and overs. And maybe buy into the fact that, hey, maybe this team is finding their way offensively a little bit, which has been very impressive to see. DeJuan Clayton, let's be honest, this is a guy that did not play for the first 13 games of the season for Cal with a hamstring injury. They get him back, and I don't think it's a total coincidence that they're making shots now. Obviously, they missed him dearly because since they've had him back, all of a sudden they're exploding with points here in these last 2 games. So maybe this is one of those undervalued situations that the odds makers are asleep on. They didn't know this guy was that big of a loss. He comes back, and now all of a sudden they're making shots. So look, Cal in the over, 2 straight games. I'm coming back to it. And now this time it's on the road. Okay, those 2 are at home. That's the big difference. Can they maintain this level of improved offensive efficiency and level of play overall on the road? But you're getting 13 points. The total's only 126. You're not asking a lot for Cal plus the points. You're not asking a lot for the game to go over the total. So that's where I'm at here. Cal plus 13 over 126. The betting markets have been off on this guy's impact on the team for the Golden Bears, DeJuan Clayton. And ever since he's been back, these 2 games, they look like a different team offensively completely. So Cal plus the points over 126 for me What do you think here, C-Mac?
I think it's too many as well. We'll see if Askew plays as well. He's questionable. I mean, what's the end here? This team's still 356, 303 with threes, on and on and on. They're a horrible rebounding team. So they just got to try to slow it down. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I was like, was this the same basketball team? Those 2 games, it was nuts. So yeah, I'm going to be off this one. But I do lean the points with Cal. I don't know if I get there in the end, but I think they can hang around. They've been blown out like maybe once in the last 5 years up in Washington State and Pullman, but usually they can hang around within 10.
You want to hear something crazy too? You mentioned Devin Askew being injured. He's missed the last 2 games for Cal. Those are the 2 games they exploded.
Maybe they don't want him back. I know.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not the kind of injury that they've obviously suffered from necessarily. So, and plus, don't forget about Washington State. What they're coming off. They're coming off that shocker against Arizona. And I mean, shocker. Mm-hmm. I mean, what were they as underdogs in that game? Massive dogs. And they go to Arizona, 12-point dogs. They win 74-61. I can't believe they held Arizona in Tucson to 61 points. I can't believe it. I mean, that we saw that from Washington State. So letdown city, potentially, for Washington State. And they got to win this game by more than 13. So I think it sets up well here for Cal, maybe to keep this little under-the-value run going, under-the-radar run going right now. All right, final marquee game here, Connor. Boise State, UNLV. Mountain West, right in your backyard. Thomas and Mack, UNLV 1.5-point home favorites, 136 the total in this game. To me, I've seen Boise now a few times. Okay, they beat Utah State and they beat San Jose State at home, but on the road they lost to Nevada and whipped by Santa Clara. I don't know if this is nearly the same team. And to me, another problem too with Boise so far this season. A lot of it falls on the shoulders of Marcus Shaver. A lot of it falls on the shoulders of Max Rice. And then after that, you don't always know what you're going to get from that rest of that lineup. UNLV, they've kind of trended backward a little bit. 3 of their last 5 they've lost. They did get a home win against Southern Miss and a nice win on the road at the Pitt last time out at New Mexico, 84-77 as 5.5-point dogs. Both teams kind of trending over, where Boise's offense has picked up a little bit the last 3 games. On the UNLV side of things, defense has fallen off, but still finding an ability to score in that 84-77 win. What a game it was for E.J. Harkless. E.J. Harkless for UNLV, 25 points for them in that win. Absolutely. So, great performance from him. I kind of lean over. I mean, it's a tough call on the side. I think UNLV at home, I'd lean to the Rebels a little bit, but I think over the total I might look at 136. Both teams trending that way. Each of these teams over in their last 3 games. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, UNLV is, I think, 8-1 to the over the last 9 after being kind of the first 7 or 8 just unders. This is big for UNLV. It seems like they get home and they could lose this game. Kind of classic UNLV the last few years. That's why. But I want to take them here tonight. And a team in Boise that can struggle to score, but they've scored, better the last few games, you mentioned. So it's tough with Boise. This is an under team, but I think it could get over as well. I mean, I'm not running to the under where I'd normally be with how these teams are scoring right now. So, yeah, tough one. I lean UNLV, though.
I'm guessing G. Martinez is my little Harkless song there. Not familiar with Heart, the Wilson sisters there, and that's what that was there when I was singing that. That's the group, 70s, 80s. Great female rock band back in the day. Excellent. Actually, they were groundbreakers for other female rock groups, believe it or not. So there you go. All right, great stuff. That's the marquee games for this Wednesday edition of the show. You can tell there's a lot of big games on the card when we've gotten to 50 minutes into the show, and now we're just getting into Q&A and all the games that we didn't talk about that we like. And we'll start with Conor in that regard. What do you think here, Conor? Games we have not talked about that you are liking tonight betting wise?
I like this over. It's moved 3 points though, so that's kind of on you. LaSalle, UMass 144. It's moved to 147. I still think it might get over, even the 147 in that game. Chicago State plus 9.5, taking them again. I think they cover. This number, I think, is just too many in that spot. They keep room.
And
Tulane.
Tarleton State has really fallen off. That's number one.
They're not
and
the
number
same.
Two, yeah, and number two, they're always been lousy as favorites. So I like that one as well. Yep.
Yeah, Tarleton just is, and they're laying 10. No way. I want Chicago State. Yep. Tulane, SMU. I think it gets over the 148. I haven't bet it. That was a lean. We talked TCU. I haven't got to this one. ECU. You mentioned them earlier. Savannah, I had them on the weekend. It's a lean for me right now with the 10. I think they could cover the number. I want to look at that a little bit more. UC Davis, Northridge. Northridge can't score. They're right defensively, under 137 in that one. And I'm looking at Radford, Winthrop, under 138.5. And I think that is it.
All right, very good. Good stuff. I will go rapid fire here, or else we'll be here all night. Some other games that I'm looking at here. I'm on Furman as road favorites. I like Furman. Furman's so good offensively, they can pull away from anybody. I think that game goes over as well, but I like the side more. Furman.
Real quick.
There. Yeah.
They've just been consistent, and Mercer has just been either they cover or close in the game, or they just get blown out. I haven't figured them out, and I don't think that was enough points. So I agree. I was looking at that game a ton early on.
Yeah. Towson, Delaware. Delaware is a home dog I'm always interested in. They seem to be very good when they're at home catching. And I like Towson a lot defensively, but, man, they go into droughts scoring still. So Delaware plus 2.5, I'm interested there. What else have we got here? Going down the list here. I almost laid 18-19 with the Hofstra because Monmouth has shown they're still that bad, but I stopped short. Just ended up being a few too many there in that game. Let's see. Richmond and Davidson. I'm on the over in that game. Richmond and Davidson. I thought the total was a little light in that game. So Richmond, Davidson over 135.5 in that one. I'm also on over with Southern Illinois and Indiana State. Indiana State's always a team I'm interested in overs. I know the Salukis are going to look to bounce back, but keep that game a little tight, low scoring, half court. But Indiana State, I like their games. Whenever I can get a total of theirs in the 130s, I'm interested pretty much. What else? Charleston, Wilmington, another over. I like that one, 147. What else have we got? Oh, another over here. FAU, FIU. 146. Florida Atlantic is a good offensive team. And FIU, they are very erratic shooting, but they play brisk pace, and you just hope they're making enough shots for that game to go over. So in the Shula Bowl, the basketball version, FAU, FIU, I'm looking over the total in that game. I like Wofford plus 3.5 against Samford. Conor Mack mentioned it already. Chicago State plus 9.5 against Tarleton State. What else have we got? Louisiana Tech, I think, plus 9.5 against North Texas. I think it's just a few too many for the Mean Green to be laying in that one. Western Kentucky, UAB, another over, 150.5. UAB, whenever their totals are low 150s, I'm interested. UAB bounce back. I'm not stepping in front of UAB because of that, Mike Angel, but I like the total. I didn't bet the side there in that one. And what else have we got here? Quickly, I'm on East Carolina again as a dog at Cincinnati. I mean, all of a sudden, this team, competitive, especially catching points. I like them plus 10 at Cincinnati in that game. What else have we got here? Santa Barbara and Bakersfield. It's kind of like Bakersfield now that the line's climbed up to 9. It's a lot to be laying with Santa Barbara. They don't push pace. They're very good defensively, but that's a lot of points. It's going to be a low possession type of game. I kind of like Bakersfield there at home, plus 9 in that game. Fullerton as well, plus 9.5 against Irvine. A couple of Big West underdogs, if you will, in those two games. And then as far as the added board goes, not a whole lot other than maybe Boston and Colgate over. I'm interested in that a little bit. I think USC Upstate beats Campbell, 2.5. I'd go money line with that. Albany, Bryant. I mean, I think Bryant smacks the shit out of Albany, quite honestly, tonight. I don't like laying points with Bryant very much, but I did tonight with Bryant, minus 11.5 over the total as well, 152. And Holy Cross, plus 5 against Lehigh. Took the points there with the Crusaders of Holy Cross. All right, there we go. That's everything else I'm on pretty much right there.
Yeah, we'll hit up some questions. Houston, I'd lay it first half. That best first half team, and they've been pretty good to that. So I think they can take care of business against South Florida early.
All right, there we go. So other games we did not talk about. Oh, St. Bonnie's. You're right. I know St. Bonnie is playing tonight. I didn't touch that game. I have no opinion on it whatsoever. I'm not taking Bonnie on the road, and I'm not laying 2 with Rhode Island. It's an easy pass. I have no interest. None.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't get involved. I've been on Bonaventure lately at home and just staying away from them on the road. And yeah, I don't want Rhode Island.
Vermont, UMass Lowell. I'm convinced Vermont's not nearly as good this year, but you're talking +1. I mean, them just to win the game. UMass Lowell's been definitely a solid team, but you're talking about years and years of Vermont being a really good team in this conference. Now you're just asking them to win the game. Let's see if UMass Lowell's ready to step up, because I think this is a winnable game for UMass Lowell, but I'm passing. It still seems like actually Vermont might be the value.
Yeah, I'm off there. I like UMass Lowell at home. That's where I kind of looked.
Yeah. Binghamton. Let me see. Binghamton. Yeah, they are taking on NJIT, getting 2 points. That one to me, definitely, I could see it going either way. Binghamton's covered some numbers on the road. I don't hate it. Binghamton +2. Sure. I mean, not a game I'm betting, but good luck. I don't hate it. I mean, they have covered at times on the road, Binghamton.
Yeah, I'm off.
All right, there we go. Anything else? Let me just double check. Houston, we talked about. Tarleton, we talked about. Yeah, I mentioned Louisiana Tech +9.5. Bradley, Charleston Southern over. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd lean that way. It was Smith Legacy on the Charleston Southern over. Oh, and Bradley, the Braves there. Yeah, obviously we know how horrible, absolutely horrible, they are, Evansville. But at the same point in time, it's a lot of points, man. And Bradley's not the kind of team I trust when they're this kind of price range. So I'm off it, but I certainly wouldn't make a case for Evansville, Keith.
Yeah, I'm off there.
There we go. All right, I think that is it.
Any more?
Yes. Oh, Army. Yes, Army against. Let me just see here. American. I like Army. But again, Army fucked me over one time. They were up big against Lehigh. I think it was last week, and they were up big in that game, and they collapsed. But now they're only at a pick 'em here. They got to win. American's been really good, but I like Army on that home court. Maybe you split it up, because if you like Army, first half full game. Because if I had taken them first half last time, I would have cashed, and then they blew it in the second half. So yeah, Army first half full game would probably be the lean for me in that one. Yeah, I like Tulane, Ron Hunter and company. I actually almost took Tulane, but 4 on the road. I pumped the brakes, but yeah, I'd lean Tulane. I don't want SMU. Not betting SMU.
I lean over. SMU's played a few unders, but I think this gets into back and forth and can get over that total.
And Tulane can get up and down, and we know they've had some overs as well. So I don't mind that either. I think the over is the way I'd play it, totals wise as well. All right, we got to roll because we were almost at the hour mark. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button. Best bets coming up right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, and manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping with promo code PUBSPORTS. All right, best bets. I'm looking for a better result, 1 and 2. I'm not thrilled with that. Last night I gave out a rare 3 best bets and only won one of them, and that was Oklahoma against Kansas. Murray State and Toledo both fell short.
Real quick. Toledo, that game got insane the second half. I did mention first half on the thing. Holy shit. It's like 88 points after it's like 25-24, just wild. And I thought Murray State covering for most of the game. Yeah, coughed it up.
Again, Murray State, I still think we should have got Murray State, but they just let it slip away late in that game. But oh well. On we go to today. Conor Mack, best bet. What do you like?
Onward. I got 2. Chicago State plus 9.5. Take them. I don't trust Tarleton. And Marquette plus 2.5. If you want, I'm taking the 2.5, but I think they can win outright against UConn. That's it.
All right, there we go. A couple best bets for Conor Mack. I'm going back to my traditional one best bet tonight on the college basketball net profit show. And that best bet is going to be Rutgers. Pick 'em. Actually, money line, I'll go with Rutgers here. Minus 115 against Northwestern. I think it's dirt cheap. They're better than Northwestern. I really believe that. They almost beat Ohio State on the road, beat Purdue on the road. And look, Purdue's played well since they lost to Rutgers. Keep that in mind. And Rutgers went to West Lafayette there and beat Purdue on the road. They can beat Northwestern. I think they will beat Northwestern. Rutgers money line, minus best bet.
They will. If they bring their A game, that seems like the only thing. If their heads are on straight, they should win. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, great show as always. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, we're back tomorrow, Thursday, mid-major Thursday. There's a lot of Horizon League, Conference USA, Summit League, a lot of those type of conferences.
Pac-12.
More Pac-12, lots of that. So Thursday, tomorrow, we'll be back, 5 p.m. Eastern, another edition of College Basketball Net Profit. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Hit the like button on the way out. We'll see you again tomorrow for the Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.